Hello and welcome to On Record, where every word matters on High Impact 102.1 FM. I'm Olumide Shokoya. Now on the program we discuss the actions and inactions of government, ministries, departments and agencies, as well as business and health affairs that shape our worldview. The program also encapsulates personalities and institutions that make decisions that affect the lives of people one way or the other. And then we also avail you, our listeners, the opportunity to call into the program and ask questions from our guest on the topic of discussion for today. Once again, welcome to On Record on High Impact 102.1 FM. Now, the President Bola Tinubu's announcement in August regarding the creation of a new ministerial portfolio, that's the marine and blue economy. It was met with some optimism as it signaled the potential for economic diversification beyond the oil sector. Now, the blue economy concept revolves around the sustainable utilization of marine resources to drive economic growth, enhance livelihood, and ensure environmental sustainability. Nigeria, endowed with an extensive coastline along the Gulf of Guinea, holds significant potentials to leverage the blue economy as a multitude of advantages. Now, Nigeria's coastal regions present ample opportunities for economic expansion and advancement through the blue economy. These opportunities span various sectors and resources related to oceans, seas, coast, and waterways encompassing environmental, social, economic, and institutional goals. Nigeria's coastal waters are teeming with marine resources, positioning the fisheries and aquaculture sectors as integral facets of the blue economy. The adoption of sustainable fishing practices can stimulate economic prospects for coastal communities and, of course, contribute to bolstering food security. However, persistent issues like overfishing, illegal fishing necessitate diligent regulatory measures and enforcement. Now, the picturesque coastline of Nigeria remain ripe with untapped tourism potential. I'll take that again. The picturesque coastline of Nigeria remain ripe with untapped tourism potential. Now, unlocking these potentials involves the development of beach resort, water sport, and the marine wildlife attractions. Now, such endeavors have potential to invigorate the tourism industry, resulting in job creation, heightened revenue. Now, to facilitate this growth, strategic investments in infrastructure and environmental conservation become imperative. Now, the blue economy extends its reach to encompass the exploration of marine renewable energy sources such as offshore wind and wave energy. Now, these sources have capacity to diversify Nigeria's energy portfolio and to reduce reliance on fossil fuels and champion the cause of sustainable energy production. Nigeria's coastal ecosystem, including mangroves and coral reefs, play an indispensable role in bolstering climate resilience. Now, investing in the blue economy equips Nigeria, yes, with the tool to fortify its resilience in the face of climate change-induced challenges, including sea level rise and extreme weather events. One of the blue economy's most promising facets lies in its potential to generate employment opportunities. Yes, employment opportunities, especially in coastal communities that heavily rely on traditional fisheries and related activities. Now, these newfound employment avenues, of course, have potential to uplift livelihoods and, of course, to mitigate poverty in this region. Notably, marine fisheries, reef, seagrass, mangroves alone are valued at $6.9 trillion, while trade transport amount to about $5.2 trillion. Now, additionally, productivity of coastlines and their role in carbon absorption represents a staggering $12.1 trillion in value. Now, Nigeria's extensive coastline, stretching over 420 nautical miles, encompasses an exclusive economic zone extending 200 nautical miles. Now, this maritime expanse blanket the Gulf of Guinea, spanning approximately 574,800 square nautical miles and boasting a 2,874 nautical mile coastline. Now, in conclusion, the blue economy holds the promise of propelling Nigeria towards economic diversification, job creation, and environmental stewardship, thereby opening the new horizons of opportunity for the nation's coastal region and of course beyond. Have you got a question for my guest this morning? The phone lines will be open shortly. That's 0700 1021 1021. I'll take that again, 0700 1021 1021. It will be open shortly. And in the meantime, you can also send your WhatsApp. You definitely can send your messages to WhatsApp. That is 090 722 45018. 090 722 45018. We'll take a breather here, and when we return, we'll begin with the conversation. It's on record. Stay tuned.
Looking for an avenue to blast your brand? Why not let us be your detonator at High Impact Radio 102.1 FM with Got You Covered. For advert placement, sponsorship, partnership, call us on 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, 0902 745 3931, or send an email to info@highimpactstudio.com.
If it's public opinion, expert analysis, information that matters to you, we have it on record Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. on High Impact 102.1 FM. Call us 0700 1021 1021. WhatsApp 0907 224 5018.
Hello and welcome back to On Record, where every word matters. Don't forget you can also take part in this conversation at 0700 1021 1021. Their phone lines will be open, definitely. And in the meantime, you can also send your WhatsApp message to 090 722 455018. Now, this is where the conversation gets interesting as we look at Nigeria's blue economy in unlocking vast coastal potential for economic growth. Our guest today is Gbolahan Olojede. He's an economist. Good morning, sir, and welcome to On Record.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to be on the program.
Good morning, and thanks for sparing time to join us in this conversation.
Yeah.
All right, we're looking at Nigeria's blue economy. That's unlocking the vast coastal potential for economic growth. Now, first of all, when we talk about the blue economy, we cannot, fail not to talk about the maritime transportation and, of course, trade in Nigeria. Now, so my question is, can you elaborate more on this economic significance of the maritime transportation and trade in Nigeria's blue economy?
Okay. The blue economy has always been there, even here in Nigeria. But I think what is changing now is a new focus, because we've never really given it the focus that it deserves. There are countries in the world that the only thing that runs the entire economy is the blue economy. So you have economies like Singapore, where the port activity is at the heart of Singapore's economy. Everywhere is port, efficient port, facilitating trade, and that is what the whole economy itself is built around in Singapore. So you also have some other economies, that might not be looking at the port side, but are looking at fishing. Japan is huge in fishing. And fishing is a critical part of the economy of that country. In some other country, it is oil and gas. That is a blue economy. Of course, we have a lot of offshore assets, even in Nigeria, But this term is when we are beginning to give all these things the right focus that it deserves, because it is potentially very huge and could turn around the entirety of the economy of Nigeria if we succeed at it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's move on. Now, how can Nigeria effectively balance economic growth and environmental sustainability in the context of this blue economy?
That's a very, very, very important point you have raised. Because when we talk about the blue economy, it is not just about exploiting the prospect or, just taking from the ocean.
Okay.
But it's also about how we can do it sustainably.
Okay.
So sustainability is at the heart of being able to make the best of the blue economy. So as we are exploiting, for example, you want to do energy.
Okay.
So you go into the oceans and you start to drill oil. How do you do that without harming the environment?
Okay.
You want to fish. How do you fish and still sustain the fishing environment without leading yourself into a situation in which you fish this year, and by the time you come back next year, the fish have depleted to 50% of what they were in the previous year? So the environmental consciousness must be there. The ESG, environment, sustainability, the social part of it.
Okay.
Environment, social, and governance must be appropriate. What are the communities that are in this neighborhood of where we are exploiting the blue economy?
Yes.
What are the communities? How are we interacting with those communities? How are they plugging into whatever we are doing? Because all these are part of what we facilitate the sustenance of the blue economy. So that on one side, we are making money from the blue economy. On the other side, we are conscious of the environment and we're preserving and protecting the environment so that we can sustainably be able to get the best out of the blue economy.
Yes, still on this fishery. I like how you went to this fishery and aquaculture. Now, my question is, what are the potential challenges and, of course, opportunities associated with developing fisheries and aquaculture sectors in Nigeria's blue economy?
Okay, fishery and aquaculture.
Yes.
The opportunities are huge, as we all know.
Yes.
A lot of fish that we eat in Nigeria are still imported. So, number one, we must look at what has been done in countries that have been very successful with fishery. A very good example I mentioned is Japan. Japan is exceedingly successful at the fishery business. So from matters of how to culture the fish to issues around preservation and processing of fish, to investment that are required to be made in trawlers, in ocean-going vessels that go out there to get involved in this fishing, and the kind of infrastructure that even on those ships that go out there to go and fish. You don't want what happened, because one of the things that happen even in the crop production in Nigeria is the issue of wastage. So you produce, between where you produce and where it is consumed, 40%, 50% of what you produce is destroyed. So those are part of the things that must be built into aquaculture. The right infrastructure to ensure that we can produce at the right level. So the science of it, the research of it, very important. After you have produced, how do you preserve and process what you have preserved? So the infrastructure that are necessary to do that must also be in place. Then we must develop the markets. The local market can absorb most of what we are producing in the early stage. But then, as production expands, how exactly do we intend to develop all the markets to push all these things into? So it's a totality of looking at it from the point of how do I produce and produce efficiently and effectively? How do I preserve what I have produced? How do I transport? Those are issues of infrastructure. What are the markets and what are the prices? How do I get product across to the market? How do I ensure that the market has an effective demand for what I have produced? So it's a totality of the structure that whoever is sitting and making decisions on this matter must be looking at, so that we don't do one part and ignore one part, and whatever we ignore will come out to destroy the parts that we have succeeded at.
Thank you very much. Talking about ignoring one part, if you look at oil exploration in the south and the riverine areas, this is one of the areas where it's negating fishery and aquaculture in the riverine areas. These oil companies, these people, they come, they exploit the oil, and they make a mess of it, and it has become an eyesore. People have talked about it. People have agitated. We have so many people who are agitating as a result of this. Now, what do you think the federal government can do? Because this would also discourage people who want to go into fishery. It would discourage them. I mean, if you look at Lagos, well, people can still, but if you look at the riverine areas and where oil exploration is actually really rampant, it will discourage. So what can the federal government do to maybe the minister in the blue economy and in the oil ministry also, maybe they have to come together or something? But let's put the question to you.
Well, it's not just even the oil and gas minister, the petroleum minister that the blue economy guy would need to work with. He needs to also work with the minister in charge of the environment. Wherever environment has been submerged, I'm sure it's in one of those ministries. That is because exploitation of resources, it doesn't matter what kind of resource we're talking about, requires that attention be paid to the environment from which that resource is being exploited.
Yes.
Whether it is fish that we are exploiting or it is oil that we are exploiting, even if it is power that we are producing, we must pay attention to the totality of the environment. So I will look forward to a situation in which the minister in charge of the blue economy will work very closely with the minister for petroleum. Why? The reason is simple. A lot of fish-related issues have been frustrated by virtue of spillages, issues of spillage from oil and gas activities. Many of the fish are dead. Your fishermen have left the shore. Everybody has become Okada riders and keke drivers all over the place because the fishes are no longer there. So, and that brings in the environment guy into that nexus. The environment guy will need to work also with this team to ensure that we can clean up. A bit of cleanup has to happen of those fishing communities. We need to do that because it is important for them to sustain the environment and sustain the blue economy. That is the social part of ESG. ESG is environment, the S there is social, while the G is governance. So all these things must work together. The environment guy is the guy who will be responsible for the issues, ensuring that we have the right environment.
Yes.
But it may not be able to fund it. So it needs the attention of the oil and gas guy, who are the people that have probably caused the spillage that happened, to be able to put fund behind cleaning of those environments. But we also need to go beyond the issue of curative, because what we are talking about now is cleaning up an environment that has already been damaged. We need to move into policy areas for the preventive, to ensure that as much as possible we prevent all this kind of situations. Nigerians might remember some years ago when there was a major spill by Mobil in
Yes.
America. It was a very horrendous time for Mobil. Mobil literally almost left America by virtue of the money, the cost of that particular problem. It cost them a bit. Here in Nigeria, we have not been able to deal with the issues of accountability, making oil companies accountable for the damage they do to the environment. The entire Niger Delta is replete with crazy situations. People are declaring profit, mega bonuses all over the whole place, the corporations that are involved, while the environment from which this money is coming from is being destroyed every day. And we are unable to hold these people accountable for what is going on. Of course, there is the general security issues.
Yes, we're coming to that. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, talking
So
about the
we
security
must put on the
situation.
back
Yes, I want to ask you a question on that. You know, even if as much as we want the federal government to take care of the oil spillage in the riverine areas, there's also the problem of insecurity. You know, in the high sea, we have pirates, we have oil theft going on there. We have so many things that are going on there. And of course, you know, when you talk about insecurity, if people are not safe, they will not come out or they will not go about their daily business. So what can the government do to encourage some of our fishermen to come out and, of course, take care of what is happening on the high sea? What can the federal government? How can the federal government come in? I know, yes, we have the Tantita services who go after pirates and people who try to, you know, all bunkering and all that. But what can the government also do to encourage, you know, the locals to come out and go about their daily business?
It goes back to that social part of things. Which is a critical part of ESG. ESG has become the big elephant in the room all across the world today. The engagement with the people who are in those communities, it is critical. Well, the Tantita that we're talking about, it's part of the initiative around issues of let the people who are the community people be involved in the protection of the assets that are in their community.
Yes.
That was, you know, part of what gave birth to the Tantitas of this world.
Yes.
But I'm not convinced that we have done enough yet. A couple of weeks ago, maybe it was even last week, we still had a situation in which people died boiling crude in the Niger Delta. About 30-something people died in that particular accident.
Yeah.
And what it means is that as a nation, we are still not doing enough in the matters pertaining to the resources of the country and how it is protected and the nature of the engagement that the people have with the resources and the country. So people were there taking crude illegally,
Yes.
boiling it, there was an explosion, people got killed. So those engagement must be richer, must be better. Nigeria is not the only country that is producing oil.
Yes.
We're not the only.
Yes.
And oil should not be a curse in Nigeria. We've been to other parts of the world that are oil producers as well. But the communities are not the way our own communities are in Nigeria. They're not the way our own communities are in Nigeria. That is the question we must be asking ourselves. Why are our own oil communities the way they are? In terms of poverty, in terms of infrastructure, you know, and the kind of insecurity that all those economic issues have engendered. Must we even revisit matters around resource ownership? Is that the problem? Maybe that is the problem. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing must be off the table in terms of engagement to ensure that we have a lasting solution to that problem. Otherwise, it will limit how much we can get out of the blue economy.
All right, thank you very much. Don't forget, you can also take part in the conversation. 0700 10 I beg your pardon, let me take it again, 0700 1021 1021. The phone lines are open. You can call in and ask whatever question you want to ask. Don't forget, you can also send your message to our WhatsApp. That's 090 722 45018. 090 722 45018. We'll take a short break and we'll be back. The program is still on record where every word matters. Stay tuned.
Do you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity, let's help you take it high.
And out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Welcome to On Record.
Every word matters.
What I want to do is to take Nigeria from consumption to production.
My name is Mr. Innocent Chuboma. I started by trading on motorcycle spare parts.
They really ask, how much is the Nigerian life worth?
Policing is everybody's business, not the business of the men on uniform alone.
We will establish student loan 4 years course. Must be 4 years course.
When you dispense, a pharmacist dispenses a drug to a patient, the name of the drug must be written on the envelope.
On Record is a 45-minute program where we discuss the actions, inactions of government, ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as business and health affairs that shape our worldview.
Join us 9 a.m. every weekday on your urban lifestyle station, High Impact 102.1 FM. On Record.
Every word matters.
Welcome back to On Record, where every word matters. We're still with our guest, Gbolahan Olojede, and we're looking at Nigeria's blue economy and unlocking vast coastal potential for economic growth. Now, I would like to ask you this question. It's very, very interesting. In terms of job creation, now, what strategies can Nigeria employ to maximize employment opportunities in coastal communities through this blue economy?
It's pretty straightforward. Once we are generating economic activity, once we create economic activity, we will need people to drive those economic activities. And it all starts from even when we start to put the structure together for this economic activity. Some of the activities might require certain legislations. That will be matters for the lawyers. Some of the issues will be infrastructure related issues. That is job for the people in construction, people in engineering.
Yes.
Then the real activities themselves, which, for example, if we're looking at, say, fishery, then that will employ fishermen. It will create jobs around people, owners of the little boats, the bigger vessels, the crew that work on all those things. All of them will get the benefit of activities around that area. If it is trade, it is the same way you have increased trade activities. You need more people.
Yes.
So if you have port activities, is a very good example.
Yes.
And all sort of and categories of workers are required in the trade side of the blue economy. If it is the energy side, whether you're drilling offshore or you're producing power, you need people. So this thing will be a major employment spinner if we do it right.
All right. Another question is: are there any economic incentives or mechanisms that can encourage the private sector? Yes, the private sector also needs to get involved. So, are there any economic incentives or mechanisms that can encourage the private sector involvement in climate resilience initiatives with the blue economy?
It is. I'm not sure there are many for now. Of course, there was a cabotage, law. There were things that were trying to encourage local ownership of vessels in Nigeria.
Yes.
And that has been on the table for a while. That is good. But we now need more policies. You see, the problem has been that hitherto there is no specific focus on that blue economy. It is now that we want to give it a focus. We must create the enabling environment to make things happen in that segment.
Yes.
So policy issues are the early things that are necessary to give it the shape and form that we want to see going forward. And that is where your question comes in.
Yes.
We need to put those structure in place, an incentive to drive private sector. If this thing is not private sector driven, it won't achieve much success as far as economic issues are concerned. The duty of government is to create the right environment and let the private sector come in and do what they know how to do best.
Yes.
So the incentive is part of what we need to work out. There's not much on the table as of now.
So how can Nigeria balance economic development in the blue economy with the preservation of its marine ecosystem and, of course, the biodiversity?
It's a matter of the consciousness. Part of the framework that needs to be developed at the onset, when we are doing all this policy issue building structure, is actually something around sustainability. And that is where the environment comes in. That's where the environment comes in. So part of the policy formulators around the blue economy will be experts in that space. So people who understand the marine biology, marine environment, biodiversity, and all of that will be part of the policy formulating people in that segment. And you bring in other environmental experts as well. While we already have a whole lot. When it comes to the economic side of it, how to exploit, we have enough. And we've been engaging some of them. But when it comes to the sustainability part of it, we've not been doing much. And that is why we need to build a cross-functional, a robust committee that will help us to draw those structures that will ensure that while we exploit the economy of the ocean on one side, we are also conscious that this thing is not just about human beings. There are other living things. There are even non-living things that are critical to sustainability, and that we must pay attention to them as well. The environment and the other living things that are in that environment. Exploit, no problem, but ensure that you preserve those other things. Otherwise, you will not be exploring for long.
All right, the program is still on record. Don't forget you can also call our phone lines 0700 1021 1021 0700 1021 1021. You can join the conversation right now. Now let's look at the global ocean economy, which is valued at $24 trillion US. How can Nigeria strategically position itself to tap into this and expand its maritime trade presence in the global ocean economy?
Not much has been done over the years, which is part of the fact that we also didn't focus on it. So if you take the port activities, for example, the Lagos ports are probably responsible for maybe 90% of the port activities that are taking place in Nigeria. But Lagos is not even the state with the longest coastal line in Nigeria. I think Ondo State has the longest coastal line in Nigeria. But there are several other states with coastal lines. So the question is, why the concentration of the activities in Lagos, when we have the benefit of a long coastal line all the way from the Cross River to Lagos.
Yes.
It means that we could do a lot more. Even the Lagos, which is where the chunk of the activities is taking place,
yes,
the Lagos has not been seeing the right level of development. I mean, the port activities in Lagos, those federal government ports, and even so on. We've not made major investments in those things. Think about this. Several years ago, when the Oyinbos were still here, we had rail right into Lagos port. Then, after some years, after the Oyinbos have left, we've gotten independence, those rails were abandoned totally. Until recently, when there were, attempts to rejig it and bring the rail back. When the white people put rail to connect the ports, they were not mad. They knew it was important. Of course, it was for their own selfish purpose then. They knew if you want to be able to exploit minerals and the rest of it, trade purposes, you just connect everywhere with rail and then move it to the port. From the port, you can ship anything you want to ship out. But that principle is still important today. It's still very, very important. And we have not made much investment in our port activity. So our port is not as efficient as it could be. People even prefer to go to Cotonou to go and do port activity because the Cotonou port is renowned to be much more efficient. In fact, there are information that Cotonou continuously expand and make their own ports to be more efficient because they believe it serves the Nigerian community.
Yes.
So there is a gap in port activities in Nigeria, and Cotonou is taking advantage of that for itself. We need to up the ante. Issues of corruption. Yeah, let me give you a very interesting story of recent in the media. It has to do with a little town called Ayetoro in Ondo State. Well, it's not that tiny anyway. It's right by the ocean. That town is almost totally wiped away now. And it didn't happen in a day. It has been happening gradually. The effect of the ocean. Ocean was wiping Ayetoro, wiping it away. And there are stories that there have been contracts to stabilize the place and curtail the impact of the ocean that was wiping away the place. And my question is, the people that got the contract, what did they do? I won't be surprised if it is even somebody from that area that got the contract. Nothing got done. A viable, a beautiful city with long history is being wiped away as we speak, because I'm not so sure if anything has been done, even up till now. So, even issues around corruption, we have to deal with it if we are going to be a major partaker in the global blue economy.
All right. Thank you very much. We cannot talk about the blue economy, of course, without talking about the minister himself, the person who sits, at the top, navigating this ministry, this new and vast ministry. That's Gboyega Oyetola. He is the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. Now, if you look at, he was the former governor of Osun State. He did well. He prioritized education, by investing in school infrastructure. He also did well in economic diversification and healthcare. So looking at some of his scorecard, if I may say, in Osun State, how would you rate him now? What do you think? How would you? What's your reaction? What do you think he's the right man for the job? Looking at what he did in Osun State, even though yes, it's a new ministry, it's different, quite different from what he did there. But how would you rate him right now?
He has a lot on his plate because the leadership that is required is both technical and managerial as well.
Yes.
while he will be able to easily deal with leading others, because I mean, he has been. I knew him way back when he was in insurance.
Okay.
He used to have his own insurance business, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So he has been used to being in leadership positions. So leading people will not be a problem.
Good.
But he has to make sure that he gets the right technical support, because as an individual, he does not come across to me as if he has the technical knowledge of that space. I am not saying that he needs to be a technical person to run it well. I'm just saying he will need to get the right technical support and give them the wings to fly and support him to succeed in that role. He will also need to upgrade himself, because it's one thing to not have the technical people. It's another thing that when there are cross-functional engagement, that maybe he's not able to, step onto the pedestal of those discussions.
All right.
But I want to believe that as someone who has been in leadership for such a long time, the issues of, upgrading himself with certain basic, things relating to the blue economy, that he will have stepped onto that position and upgrade himself. If he does that, the primary job will be that of leadership. He gets the technical support he needs. He upgrades himself, a little bit, so that he can also, engage properly in this matter. He should be able to make a success of it, or at least he must be able to lay the foundation, a very good foundation, for the blue economy.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for this impactful knowledge. Thank you for joining us on the program. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, the program has been on record right here, and we've been looking at Nigeria's blue economy and unlocking vast coastal potential for economic growth. And our guest has been Bolawo Olojede. He's an economist. This is where we draw the curtains on record today. It's been a pleasure listening to us. Join us next week for another thrilling edition of On Record. I'm Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.